What if you could turn your passion for helping others into a career that changes lives, starting with your own? Join Empower's Certified Professional Empower Coach Academy, accredited by the ICF and powered by Oregon State University. Our next cohort begins February 28th. Visit yesempower.com to reserve your spot today.
Welcome to Rewired. I'm your host, Tiffany Grimes with Empower Coaching and Training. Oh, I hope you chose this podcast today because you were curious about the title, Choose Awe. How Wonder Rewires a Busy Brain. My name is Tiffany Grimes with Empower Coaching and Training. Hi, Rewired listeners. I missed you last week, but I had a really incredible excuse not to produce episode 9 last week and wait and do it this week. I was deep in the desert in the Southwest, so in Arizona and Utah, really back and forth a few times, and in Nevada. My best friend and I got a permit to the Wave, and we were able to hike that in Arizona. We hiked through and wandered through the surreal hoodoos of Bryce Canyon in that amazing national park. And then we hiked and biked our buns off in Zion National Park and ended the whole shebang by wading waist deep sometimes, and sometimes just, barely on our feet. But we hiked the Narrows, hiked the whole Virgin River, which is the trail through the Narrows in Zion, and we fully exhausted ourselves. I think we figured out just on that day, we hiked 11 something miles in the river. And then we biked 15 miles to get there and get back to our camp. It was really amazing. We slept under a full moon. We had nights where we just saw a million stars, some of them shooting stars. We laughed in a way that has been a connection for us for over 30 years. We rode the e-bikes, which was so fun. It felt like such a little social media moment through just those huge cliffs and rock faces, the red and the white in Zion. And somewhere between all that laughter and really the quiet stillness that was between the laughter, I found myself in a full body state of awe over and over. In fact, we kept joking about that we had to find a new way to say, wow. We would just move to saying, what, when, how, and especially at the Wave and really in all the places we went, we talked about how, the geology, you could study the geology and get the facts, but it didn't explain the magic. And that was that state of awe. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. Awe, the practice of wonder, how it changes your brain, your mood, and your sense of meaning, and how you don't have to go rent a really cool soulless van and have your best friend from across the other coast fly over and meet you. You don't have to do that. You don't need 10 days. How we create awe in our day-to-day life, because I'm telling you, I'm coming back from that trip ready to do more of that, ready to create awe every day. So let's start with just what is it? What is awe, really? Awe is that mix of vastness and humility. So I want you to bring to mind maybe a place where you have stood in awe, and it might not be the grandness of Zion National Park. It might be in the beauty of the tiniest fingernail of a newborn baby, right? But the vastness of that moment, because what you're seeing in that is not just this child's fingernail, but, humanity and our ability to produce new humans through our own body. And then where the awe comes in is when it's mixed with that humility. So that moment when you stand before something so grand, so intricate, or so beautiful, that this amazing thing happens, which is your sense of quote unquote me quiets down. And we're going to talk more about the neuroscience of that. Neuroscientists describe awe as an emotion that helps us reorganize our understanding of the world. I love that idea because I had it happen over and over again over the last 10 days. It's what happens when something is so vast, it doesn't fit neatly into what we already know. So our brains have to stretch, and that stretching feels uncomfortable sometimes. It hurts sometimes. It leaves no answers sometimes. And that stretch is exactly where the rewiring happens. I want to talk about a particular moment. I have been kind of referencing it in my mind as the wave moment. And there was one moment after the hustle and bustle of driving from Las Vegas airport through Nevada and Utah and back down into Arizona and setting up camp and getting all of our gear and laughing with each other because we haven't seen each other in person in a while. This whole, hustle, bustle, go, go, go. And then it was quiet. It was just quiet. We'd stopped. We'd probably poured a glass of wine and we'd stop for just a moment. And the wind died down and the desert just held this sense of silence and stillness and infinity. And the sky was so full of stars, it almost looked pixelated. And there were a couple shooting stars, and we could see at that point it was the half moon, and we could see the Milky Way. And I remember looking up and realizing how tiny I was in that moment. And instead of feeling small in a scary way, what might happen or what's going on in the world, or I feel so tiny, I have no power. Rather, it felt very freeing. It gave me this perspective that I really needed. My breath slowed, my chest just softened, my thoughts fell away, and what came next was just clarity, the kind of clarity that doesn't come from striving, from the daily hustle, but rather from just surrender, from presence, from acceptance. It reminded me of my values that we've talked about before. Mine are joy and excellence, and awe connects me back to those. The joy of being fully alive and excellence in recognizing there's something bigger guiding the process. It was in that moment, and then again, many times throughout the week, just this moment of realizing how my focus has been so focused and pointed, and I need to know the news and the deadlines and the calendaring and the grammar and the emails, and did my signature go right, and did I click that thing, and what like all of these. I have to get to the bus stop at 4:55 to get, it's like all of these little tiny minute moments, and remembering sitting under those stars like, this is real too. This bigness, this vastness, this tininess of me is also very, very real.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Ready to make a real difference? Become a certified professional coach with Empower Coaching and Training. Our next CPEC cohort, accredited by the International Coaching Federation and offered in partnership with Oregon State University, starts February 28th. Spots are limited. Learn more at yesempower.com.
So let's dive a little bit more into the neuroscience of awe. Neuroscience tells us awe isn't just poetic, it's actually physiological. So again, it's something that we can create and we can recreate. It isn't just this poetic, amazing moment that the clouds parted and we could see the stars. It is actually something that is within our realm of creation. When you experience awe, the default mode network, which we've talked about before on here, which is the part of your brain that is responsible for self-talk and that ego chatter, it quiets down. It's the part that when you kind of ask your brain not to do something, that gets really loud. That's the default mode network. And when we are experiencing awe, that quiets down. So we literally become less self-referential, which means we're letting go of some kind of rigid definitions of who we are and how we should be treated and how we should walk this earth and so forth. So we loosen that. That's why awe feels so peaceful and connected all at once, right? Like I am part of something so much bigger. I'm connected to what came before me and what is now and what comes after and, all of it. That is the power of awe. It also engages the vagus nerve, and that is the highway between your brain and your body, and it helps to regulate your stress response. And studies show that people who regularly experience awe, and what I would say is even people who regularly create the experience of awe, have higher vagal tone, meaning better emotional regulation and resiliency. And again, I just want to say I felt that. I felt my resiliency increase. In fact, we had our van continue to have some issues and we just were like, it's fine. We've got this. We'll figure out that. We can do that. We were so much more able to roll with things and to find solutions. We experienced it in real time as we were traveling about the Southwest. And even brief moments of awe. So again, you don't need 10 days. So if you're like, this is great, wouldn't it be wonderful to do that trip with my BFF? It doesn't have to be 10 days. And brief moments of awe, which we can create every day. You're going to keep hearing me say that. They've shown to reduce inflammation and boost feelings of connection, gratitude, and meaning. In short, awe is a nervous system reset button. And for me particularly, it is why I continue to go find adventures that put me in a state of awe. And the reason we're talking about it today is because I came back with the intention of going, how do I do this more in my day-to-day life? I live in a beautiful area. I have an amazing family. I have great friends. There's no reason I can't do this intentionally every day. So that's what I'm going to share with you. So let's talk about that, the practices for everyday life. How do we do this? How do we cultivate this on a, random Tuesday between emails and errands and school drop-offs and making dinner and all of those things? So let's talk about 3 simple practices to help you bring your awe really into your daily rhythm, into your daily practice, and really into your comfort zone is what I will say, into your habit zone. So the first one is, I'm going to put a 15-minute number on this, but know that you can do a 5 or a 10. So I'm going to call it a 15, but again, define it as you need to define it. So 15-minute awe walk. I used to call these beauty walks, but I'm going to kind of expand it beyond beauty. Beauty meaning like I'm going to go find something beautiful, but we're going to expand this. So an awe walk is what we'll call it. So, if we practice this once a week, awesome. If you can get it twice a week, great. Walk your usual route. Maybe you're already taking a quick walk around the block on your 10-minute break, or you walk the dog around, on a path every evening. As you do this, start seeing it as though you're seeing it for the first time. Notice the colors. Right now it's fall. Maybe the leaves are changing where you are. Maybe the temperature is changing. Notice the sounds, even if it's road sounds. Notice, what does the semi sound like as it goes versus the car full of teenagers as it goes, and the bicyclist. Notice textures, barks on the tree, and flowers perhaps, or particular cloud, patterns or textures. And then patterns throughout. It could be how someone's mowed their lawn. People get pretty creative around that. And notice these things like, wow, isn't that interesting? There's some amazing neuroscience behind that, and I'm forgetting the name of it right now as we're talking. But it's the study of us as we travel and we turn on this whole exploratory part of our brain where we're seeing things differently and experiencing them differently. We go in curious. And then we go into our regular day-to-day life and we go into AutoZone. And so, not AutoZone, the store for car parts, but the auto, the zone of automatic in your head. So what we're doing is bringing that sense of curiosity into our regular daily walk that we're already doing. So it's not even additional time. So look for the vastness in the tiniest of things. The sky through the trees, for example, the movement of clouds, or even the rhythm of people passing by. Listen, look, feel, notice, observe, and be really curious. A study from UC San Francisco found that older adults who practice these short awe walks reported more joy, compassion, and less stress. And again, this is not additional time in your day. It's something you're already doing. So ask yourself as you walk, what surprised me today? Or what is surprising me as I'm walking? Where did I feel smaller? Where do I feel tiny? Where do I find myself asking questions and being curious? Notice these things as you go. So that's one way you can begin to increase awe in your everyday life, or once a week life, or twice a week life. You get to choose what that looks like for you. The second one is called a 3-breath Widen and Wonder. And if you joined us for the mindfulness broadcast this morning, which is a free offering we have every Friday. You can also find it on YouTube. I'll put the link down at the bottom. And so I guide folks through this particular process this morning. And so we'll put the link down there. But what you're doing, so this can be a once a day, or, you decide, you get to decide, but it just takes literally a minute or two. And you're just going to pause where you are. So maybe you're in the Zoom waiting room. Maybe you're waiting for your kid to come out of theater practice or soccer practice, or you are in a space where you're waiting for the copy machine, or, whatever it is. Find a place that you're already in and you can pause for a moment. And you're going to take 3 intentional breaths, and you're going to add something to each breath. So on the first breath, you soften your gaze and you widen your view. And again, that can be metaphorically, it can be through a memory you're having, or it literally might be, when you're waiting at the Zoom room, sometimes you're just staring at the empty screen or something going around in circles. And so you're literally inviting yourself, I'm going to soften that gaze and I'm going to widen the view. I'm going to look up, perhaps look around. Then on the second breath, you're going to name one vast thing. And it can be something that is in front of you, or it can be something you're visualizing, or just something you're aware of. So you can name, for example, the sky, the concept of time, the human hands that built the Egyptian pyramids, or even how in the heck they made this copy machine. You're like this vast thing that is bigger than you and bigger than that moment. And then on the third breath, from that vast perspective, you ask yourself something along the lines of, what matters most from this wider view? So when I think about life through the vastness of time, or the human hands that built the Egyptian pyramids, what matters to me about my life, or about my existence, or about my relationship to the dishes that are dirty or the garbage that hasn't been taken out or the paper that didn't get turned in, right? What matters most to me from this wider perspective? And it really helps shift us from this narrow focus, which is where most of us spend most of our day, to an expansive perspective. So it can really move us from problem thinking to literally possibility. You know, if I'm feeling stuck on something and I think somehow, some way, they built those pyramids perfect, or the Nazca lines in Peru. I had the opportunity to see those years ago. Like, if they can do that, I can figure out how to do these, how to get dinner and soccer practice done at the same time, or how to have this difficult conversation with my colleague, right? I can figure that out. It's just a helpful practice to give us the awe and to shift us into a different part of our brain. And then finally, the awe playlist. So music, as we all very well know, is one of the most accessible awe triggers we have. So purposefully build a playlist, or even go find one on Spotify, for example, or some other carrier like that, that makes you feel chills. For me, I was a kid of the, kind of into my childhood in the 80s and 90s, and we made each other mixtapes, and we played them literally until they just wavered and the tape broke, because we loved them and the way they made me feel and how I loved so and so, or how angry I was, or whatever it is. So build a playlist, or again, go find one. They're so accessible now, that gives you chills. Maybe it's a choir. For me, it's like I can turn on Adele or Brandy Carlisle or just some of these amazing singers and just be in awe. It might be a film score or an instrumental piece that makes your chest lift, and maybe your breath gets caught in your voice and your chest. You can also create collective. So go to a concert. So maybe music through earbuds isn't your thing. Go to a concert, go to a community event, go to a sporting game. My best friend and I are both into the WNBA. The playoffs are right now. We were in Las Vegas when the world delivered to us the Las Vegas Aces playing the Indiana Fever. And we bought tickets. We were like, we're already here. Let's just do it. We bought tickets. And it was so epic to just be yelling and screaming and laughing, and with, thousands of other people in this packed stadium that went into overtime. And it was this community collective awe that was happening. So go create that. Studies show that as this kind of we, not me state, as we practice that more, it actually increases our ability to be in cooperation with others and to also build empathy with others. So there is not only just the amazing awe and the benefit of being there and seeing it, but this ongoing ability that increases as we do these things of cooperation and empathy. Pretty amazing. All right, so let me leave you with a few reflective prompts to bring this home. As, of course, I am a certified professional coach through the International Coaching Federation, level PCC, and we also have Empower Coach Training Academy, where we teach coaching, professional coaching, called CPEC, Certified Professional Empower Coach. And I'll just give it a little thing here. Our next cohort begins in 2 weeks, and as of this date right now, we have, I think, 2 or 3 spots left. So check it out. I'll put the link in there too. Anyway, I digress. Want to leave you, which I always love to think from the lens of a coach. So I want to leave you with a few coaching reflective prompts so that you can continue to think about the creation of awe in your life. So the first question is, where in your current life does awe already exist? Just waiting to be noticed. I want you to think about that. Oh, I just had like 5 things come to mind as I said that. The second question is, which of these practices will you experiment with this week? So of the 3 that I brought forward, so we have the 15-minute awe walk, we have the 3-breath Widen and Wonder, and then we have the idea of an awe playlist or going to a concert. Which one of these will you experience this week? And then finally, question 3, how might inviting more awe change the way you lead, parent, love, or show up at work? So how is that going to change how you live? Really, we could sum it up into that. How you're in relationship to others and to yourself. Because awe isn't about escaping life, what I want to remind you and really underscore is that it's about re-entering it. Awe is not about getting away from this life and going and doing something else. It's rather a very purposeful or sometimes accidental process about re-entering your life with presence, perspective, and possibility. If this episode sparks something for you, share it with a friend who maybe has been stuck in tunnel vision. Maybe share it with somebody that you want to go create some with. And as always, if you're ready to bring neuroscience and intentional change into your daily life or leadership or parenting or relationship, come work with us at Empower Coaching and Training. You can find us and all the details at yesempower.com. Until next time, stay curious, stay present, and friends, keep choosing awe. Don't wait. Don't wait for retirement. Don't wait for after work. Don't wait till the kids are grown. Go create it. Take care. Thanks for tuning in to Rewired, where neuroscience meets real life change. If you enjoyed today's conversation, I'd be so grateful if you take a moment to leave a 5-star review. Your feedback helps people discover the tools, insights, and inspirations they need to create lasting change. While you're leaving that 5-star review, please also subscribe and share an episode with a friend. Remember, the way you think shapes the way you live. Every intentional thought, every mindful choice rewires your brain and your life. So go live intentionally, live thoughtfully, and never underestimate the power of your own mind to transform your world. Until next time, this is Tiffany with Empower Coaching and Training. Stay curious, stay empowered, and keep rewiring for real change.
Every family has challenges, and every parent deserves support. At Empower Coaching and Training, youth and parenting coach Jasmine Chandler helps parents and young people find clarity, connection, and practical tools that make a difference. Visit yesempower.com to connect with Jasmine and explore our team of incredible coaches today.